Hey guys, it's Baba Kinkin, and I finally got around to doing the skin tone tutorial. I ended up doing this big piece of like all the OCs so that I could show off how I do stuff, and I've recorded how I start off blocking in all the colours and getting the skin tones from the surrounding colours, and then I'll go in a bit more depth on how to get sort of reflected colours. Okay, so first off, it doesn't really matter what kind of colours you want to use, but you're going to want to block in where the lights and the shadows are going to be. So I'm blocking in kind of warmer colours because I want everything to be kind of cosy and warm looking. So blocking that all in on the front, seeing where I want all the tones, and I've got the yellow at the back, so I'm thinking that's where I want some backlight on it. And I'm not worrying too much about what kind of skin tones I'll be using yet, even though the colours I'm using are probably similar, so it'll be a bit easier, but at this stage you don't really need to worry about that. Even if it's blue or green or whatever colour, just try blocking it in with the colours that you have, that you want in the atmosphere. Okay, so the next thing I went and did was kind of added in a bit of blue because I thought, oh, there's too much red going on, so I added the blue in to kind of calm it down a bit, and I wanted some kind of cool shadows on it. I wanted that in the skin. Now I'm adding in some other dark and lights that are just on the characters anyway. And now I'm trying to get the skin tones. What I do to try and get the skin tones is once I've got that base down already of the atmospheric colours that I'm using anyway, I'll select the colour that I'd assume the skin tone would be if it was just normal, and I'll kind of paint that over at like a low opacity, and then select the colour that it kind of creates, and it'll leave you with a colour that's more fit into the environment that it's in, but you're still kind of using the colour that you know what it is already. I'll show you this later, I'll do another bit of video for it. You can see as I'm going along that's pretty much how I'm getting all the different colours in the skin tones, like the paler ones and the more pinkish ones around the cheeks. I'm putting the colours that I've already got down, I'm putting those over or bringing the colours from the background, like that bright pink you can see, and bringing that onto the face and putting it on at a low opacity, and then selecting the colour and then painting it on with like 100% opacity once I've got the right colour. And you can see I'm doing it with the blue, like I'm blending the colours together, because it starts off as like a really saturated colour that doesn't fit, but if you blend it in and work with it, then you can get something that does work with all the other colours. You can use this technique with pretty much anything as well. It's just really useful for getting colours to work in a certain setting, not just skin tones, but I find it really useful in skin tones because it kind of stops you thinking of them as skin tones. You start to think of them more as colours and how the colours are working together. Okay, so on to the actual paint and demo. That's the main important thing you want to remember when you're doing skin tones, is that even though it may look like a certain colour on the finished thing, it will be a different colour to what you're expecting. Okay, if I go over it, so I know what kind of colours these characters have for their skin anyway, so this one here, she's got something, she's like super pale, so I'd pick something pale, and if I've got all these colours already in the background from the video you watched before. Everything's sort of just the background colours, so these are the colours around here that I had at the start anyway. So what I do is get that colour that I know the skin is in like normal light, and I sort of brush it over a little bit like that, and then select that colour and then paint it on, and you can see there that it's pretty much the same colours that I've got, and it fits in a lot better with the environment. Even though it doesn't really look like much when it's there, but once you actually put it on the character, that's pretty much the base skin tone that she's got in this environment. Well, normally it'd be what I'd picked before. Now it's sort of a colour you wouldn't have gone and picked on your own necessarily. I mean, you might have, and that's pretty much what you're aiming for, but this is a way of kind of getting those colours. And like I said, I do this with pretty much all the other colours as well. Like, I wanted to give her a blue top, right? And when I select this, it's not blue, it's pink, it's just a really desaturated pale pink, but in this context it looks blue. So what I originally did you can see in the video, I went and selected the kind of blue that I knew it'd be, and if I paint that on, that completely doesn't fit in. So with all the pink background colours that I already had down with the atmosphere, I painted it on a little bit like that. And you can do this with, you're probably going to want to have your brush at full opacity, which is what I usually do, because otherwise I tend to be a bit cowardly with the colours. I want to be able to paint things down just straight away like that. But if you get a soft one that you can, you know, use brush sensitivity on, then you can do that and you can, you know, play around with how thick it is, but you want to be able to just do that and have all the colours down. So yeah, I select it and you can see that if I go and paint that on now, that's near enough the same colour and it still looks blue. So I've made the colour that I want just from using the colour that I know I've got and the colours that I've put down in the atmosphere. And the last thing I'm going to mention is, you can see down the bottom of the faces I've got sort of cooler colours like this blue and stuff. And that's because, as well, it tends to be more saturated around the top of the face. And then you'll get like a bit of pink around the middle, bit more pink around the middle, and then paler at the bottom. Even though on most of them it's kind of because, well, two of them, it's because there's sort of a blue reflected light as well. But what I wanted to mention was, if you've got these kind of skin tones and you want that kind of blue look, if you're using these skin tones, you can, instead of what you'd assume, which should be just getting this blue and slopping that straight on, the blue that you've made, what you can do is get the skin tones, and you can see what that is there, and if you just pull it over to a saturated colour, because you've got all these red colours, if you put the desaturated colour on it, it's going to look blue. Like, this will do with other colours as well. Like, if I... hang on, that's not a good place to put that. If I take the green, and then if I take the desaturated green, it'll look a different colour. Like, that doesn't look green anymore. If I take this colour and that, the more you desaturate something, if you put it next to other colours, it's going to look more blue. But that's a thing I've seen, like a sort of technique I've seen people do to get sort of cool saturated colours on the bottom of the face. And another thing I'll mention too, actually, with sort of more beigey skin colours, the contrast is going to be between the lights, because it's mostly sort of a mid-tone kind of light shade. If I flip the grey on, you'll be able to see that it's everything else, all the other layers, ignore those, but the contrast is mostly between the mid-tones and the shadows. But if you've got a darker skin tone, then the contrast is between the mid-tones and the highlights. Like, there's more of a difference. And yeah, this will help you do other skin tones as well, because I know some people will be like, oh, I can do like this kind of skin tone because that's what I'm used to painting, but I can't really do this kind of skin tone, like a darker one. So when you stop thinking of things as, oh, that's a skin tone, it's easier to select the colours. Like, I think for this dude, I sort of picked brownish colour like this, and then, you know, over the pink. And there we go, see, that's the kind of colour I was after, and then I added all the other colours, like the highlights. I think I selected the light that was going to be going onto that colour on the face, and I just put that over those colours, and like that, and you've got, you know, closer to that colour already. And if you don't like the colour as it is, go over it again. with that, and then select that colour, and you can, you know, paint that straight on, and you've got the highlights. And I've sort of got the same going on here because it's more saturated at the top and it becomes less saturated at the bottom. Even though this looks quite saturated, when you look at it on the colour reel it looks saturated, but compared to on the face it looks a lot more desaturated because it's sort of a purpley colour when it's actually on the painting. So yeah, that's how I get all my skin tones and a lot of my other colours, because, you know, colours are fucking hard, but as long as you get the base down, you can pretty much just, you know, pick this. Say I want a bit more, you know, a bit more highlight over here, I can just do that. Select the colour, you know, I've got like a gradient here, select the colour that I want, and then I've got sort of a more highlight that I can use. Another highlight colour there to add in. See? And it works with adding other colours in. Say you want to add something, say you want like a really pink blush. You can go and paint that on a little bit and select colour from it that you want, and then you've got a bit more of a pink blush. Even, you know, originally, because you then, by doing this, you just have to select the colour that you know you want, but instead of using it straight up, you use the other colours, use the atmosphere that you have or the colours that you want to have to get it to work in that context and look like the colour that you do want in that context. Oh, it's not a good place to put it. See, now I've got sort of a green looking colour, even though it's completely not green, but I got it from a green. And okay, that's the end. Of course this should be used as a way to kind of learn about it. You're obviously wanting to aim for being able to pick the colours on your own, but this is a good way to start learning about it and, you know, give you a bit of confidence to actually go forward and be able to pick your own colours more easily. But yeah, hey, Merry Christmas everyone, or whatever it is you celebrate. I'll leave links to my DeviantArt, my commission info, and my Tumblr in the description, and if there's something you'd like to see me do a video about, then leave a comment. Leave us a like if this helped you out, or subscribe because I'll be doing more of this kind of toss, but yeah, go draw, you nerds. Good luck. Bye!